Our next lesson reviews the midpoint and distance formula. Remember that the midpoint of a segment is the point that splits the segment at the middle, right? It creates two congruent pieces of a segment. So now we can use the midpoint formula to find the actual midpoint. So very similar to how when we use slope, you have x1, x2, y1, y2. It would be helpful to label them as such. And then we just use our formula. So x1 is 7 plus x2, which is -1, divided by 2. y1 is -2 plus 6 divided by 2. So 7 plus -1 is 6, divided by 2 is 3. -2 plus 6 is 4, divided by 2 is 2. And that is your midpoint. Now here's some practice. So again, practice finding the midpoint. So we start with our x, so 4 plus 10 divided by 2, -9 plus -3 divided by 2. So we have 14 divided by 2, which gives us 7, -12 divided by 2, which gives us -6. So this is our midpoint. So again, -2 plus -10, -9 plus -2 divided by 2. First one will get -6. Second one will get -11 over 2. That's your midpoint. So you might also be given the midpoint and an endpoint and asked to find the other endpoint. So in this case, right, before we were being given the two endpoints and asked to find our middle, now we're being given the middle and an endpoint, and we have to find our other endpoint. So you can use the formula because we know that the midpoint is 1, -1, which is equal to our x plus another x value divided by 2, and our y plus our y value divided by 2. So our x value is 1 equals 8 plus x over 2. So we're going to get 2 is equal to 8 plus x. So x will be equal to -6. And then similarly, we'll set up the y. So we have -2 equals -5 plus y. So y will be equal to 3. So the other endpoint must be -6, 3. So again, we're going to set this up. So our x value is 2. So that is equal to our given x plus the one we're solving for. So x is equal to 5 of our other endpoint. So for y, we have -8. Excuse me. We don't have -8. We have -6, which is equal to -8 plus our y value over 2. So we get y is equal to 4. So the endpoint must be 5, 4. And we do the same thing. So we're setting up. So we get that x is equal to -3. I'm sorry, so that shouldn't, I made a mistake. That should not be x. That should be our y. So b here is -3, -6. So that was a review of the midpoint formula. The distance formula is very similar. So this is to find the distance between any 2 points. So again, we're using the formula. You're taking the square root of the difference of your x's squared. subtracting the difference of your y's squared. So again, all we really have to do is know the formula and then plug in. So -1 minus -5 squared minus -4 minus 3 squared. So we have 16 minus -4 minus 3, well, hold on. Did I make a mistake? The distance formula. So there's a mistake here. So your distance formula, it should be plus, because this is 16 plus 49, and then 16 plus 49 is 65. So the distance is 65, and then you put it into your calculator. So in your y equals 65 over x squared, look at the table to double check, and this is in simplest form. So again, make sure that you change this. It should be plus. I'm going to make a note of that right now. So that is on page 17. Distance formula is wrong. Okay, so now that you have the right distance formula written down, we are now going to practice finding the distance between points using the formula. So we have x1, y1, x2, y2. So -5 minus 4 is -9, squared is 81. -3 minus 9 would give us -12, squared is 144. So now it's 81 plus 144, which gives us 225. And if I do the square root of 225, we get 15. So those are distance. So now again, x1, y1, x2, y2. So we're doing x2 is -4 minus 4, 9 minus 5. So that is going to be 64 plus 16. So then we have square root of 80. And now to see what that is in simplest form, I'm using the calculator trick. So in y equals, doing 80 over x squared, and I get 4 radical 5. Now this is a little preview of the proofs we're going to be doing for this unit. Yes, we are doing proofs. You can use the distance formula to help you prove statements. So if I'm given 4 points here, and I want to decide if AB is congruent to CD. So we're saying, is AB congruent to CD? If two segments are congruent, then their distances must be the same. So what we have to do is, what is the distance of AB? And is that the same as the distance of CD? So for AB, square root 1 minus -3, doing our x's, plus 8 minus 3 squared. So that gives me 16 plus 25. So 16 plus 25 is equal to the square root of 41. Now we'll do the same thing for CD. So So we're doing 3 minus negative 1 squared plus 6 minus 1 squared. So that's 16 plus 25, which is also 41. So because we have two distances that are the same, we can say that AB is therefore congruent to CD. So now again, it's the same process. GA congruent to OT. Well, let's look. GA. So we're looking negative. So you have to make sure you're using. So we're doing 2 minus negative 6 squared plus 5 minus 4 squared. So that gives me 64 plus 1, which is radical 65. And now OT, I'm doing 0 minus negative 4 squared plus 8 minus 1 squared. So we have square root of 16 plus 49. 16 plus 49 gives me square root of 65. So because these two are equal, we can say that GA is congruent to OT. Okay, so here's just some more practice. This is examples of like Regents questions. And I'll do these off camera and post the answer key with the answer key on Classroom. And, you know, the same thing when it comes to the homework. It's pretty straightforward. I'll post the answer key on Classroom. I don't think you guys need me to walk through all of them. If you followed along with what I've done so far, it should be pretty self-explanatory. So